New iPads are finally here. Let's take a look at what's new, what's not, who this is for, and whether or not you should upgrade. Hello, my name is Roland K. Smith. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, I'm a social media manager and digital content creator. Please give this video a like, subscribe to my channel. It'll help me out a whole bunch. So Apple announced a heap of new hardware overnight at their spring event. We got new fancy Macs in a whole bunch of colors. We got the AirTag, so you'll never ever lose your backpack or your keys again. We got the new Apple TV with that sort of retro wheelie remote thing, and we got some new iPhones in purple. Purple's cool. But the thing that I was most excited for was the new iPad Pros. I have long been a big fan of the iPad Pros. I do a whole lot of work on the iPad Pro. I do Lightroom photo editing. I do some graphics in Canva and stuff like that. I also do some occasional video editing in Lumafusion, as well as emails, Zooms, all that sort of regular stuff. I did a whole video about using the iPad Pro as my only computer for a month, and I'll leave a link to that there, so check it out. But what I mentioned in that video is that there are some shortcomings of the iPad Pro, and there were some things that I wanted to see improved. I made some suggestions, or I had a wish list. So let's take a look and see what's new on these iPads and what's not. So here's what we got. The impressive M1 chips that have been blowing reviewers away in the MacBooks are now in the iPad Pros. The iPad Pro gets the 8-core version. We got a Thunderbolt 3 USB-C port with 40 gigabytes of data transfer speed, which is very handy for moving around those raw video files. It's now configurable up to 2 terabytes of storage. We got the XDR Liquid Retina display on the big boy, the 12.9 version, nice. And we got 5G as well, which is pretty standard now, but if you're thinking of using this on the road, it's very handy. Now, before we have a look at what we didn't get, just a quick reminder that I'm a social media manager and digital content creator, so I look at tech through that lens. So I appreciate that perhaps everything that's important to me might not be important to everybody. Okay, moving on. So the big issue that I had with the previous generations of iPad Pro were the lack of professional apps. So I'm talking about Final Cut Pro, I'm talking about Logic Pro. And they're still not here. With the M1 chip coming to the MacBook Pro, those fast data speeds from Thunderbolt 3 and configurable up to 2 terabytes of storage, I thought that this would be a really good time for Apple to finally release those Pro apps. No dice though. And something that surprised me and kind of confused me is that Apple actually highlighted Lumafusion in their announcement. Now, if you don't know what Lumafusion is a very good little video editor that's available on iPad OS and iOS, but I would have thought that it was a competitor. Now, I love Lumafusion, don't get me wrong. I've used it a whole bunch. And I love it. I've been using it even more on my iPhone as I've been making TikToks. But it's not Final Cut Pro. It just sort of lacks the integration in the wider Apple ecosystem, and it also doesn't have those plugins that a professional might need. Look, I think it's inevitable that Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro will come to the iPad, but they're obviously just not ready yet. And that's what frustrates me about this iPad Pro. It's got excellent hardware. I mean, we've seen what the M1 chip can do. It's really powerful. It can crush 4K video. You've now got massive amounts of onboard storage with 2 terabytes. Really great screens, really fast data storage, but like why? Like why do you need all of that stuff if you're not using those Pro apps? And why not just get the iPad Air? I mean, it's much cheaper and it's going to perform for many of the tasks in much the same way. So will I be upgrading to the new iPad? Well, yeah, because I'm a sucker, I'll do it. Though I probably don't need to because my 2018 iPad Pro still performs really well. The battery life is still really good and I can edit 4K no problems. In fact, I'm going to edit this video on it just to prove a point. But if I wasn't a simp for shiny new Apple things and I didn't have a YouTube channel that was based around social media and content creation, then I probably would sit this year out. So what would it take for me to upgrade? Well, probably those Pro apps. I mean, if I was using the iPad Pro every day for the bulk of my creative work and I was using those Pro apps, I would need that power and I would need that storage. But as it is, I'm only using it for low-level tasks or occasional heavy lifting. So I'm afraid that the 2021 iPad isn't the iPad that we're looking for. Of course, if it is time for you to upgrade, then this looks stellar and you should be excited. I mean, I'll have to wait till I get one in my hand to sort of give it a full run through, but it does look pretty good as an iPad. If you like it, if you like the look of it, and you can afford it, because it is a bit more expensive than the Air, then I say go for it. I say go for it. Okay, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Until the next one, keep doing what you're doing.